Patrick Netherton Show, 11:30 The Tiger. He's Rogers. I'm Patrick, and we're pleased to welcome in the brand new head coach of the Northwestern State Demons, fresh off of a semifinal berth in the National Junior College Tournament. He is Rick Cabrera. Coach, how are you?
What's going on, buddy? All is well, man. How about yourself?
Well, I was happy you didn't get arrested at security or anything. I'm just glad you made it through.
I know. I got a little nervous, but, I was just hoping my boys didn't have anything in their bag.
Right. And that's what's crazy, right? That's to me one of the funniest things is I'll get pulled over for speeding, or I'll go through security somewhere, and I know I don't have anything on me, and I know I'm clean, but I'm still nervous for some reason.
Yes. It's just normal human reaction, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with kind of how the process played out for you. Obviously, you're in the middle of coaching your team while the search is going on for Northwestern State. Kind of give us the perspective from your end on how this all came about and you ultimately got named as NSU's coach.
Yeah, no, everything moved so fast. Obviously, I had a previous relationship with our athletic director, Kevin Boston. And when I saw that Corey was leaving, I just sent Kevin a text and say, hey, I would love to talk to you about your position. And like a day later, he said, Rick, send me your information, and a search firm reached out to me, and then now this was all in the process of us trying to win a national championship.
Right.
So, you just had to balance everything. You had to multitask, and I was able to do it. And Kevin and Dr. Jones, called me after the interview and offered me the job, and here I am today.
That's it's pretty crazy to kind of see that again, and that's the interesting thing, right? Because so many times we hear about a coach that you see an opening that goes on, and the thought process always is, well, they're obviously waiting on a coach who's still going on, his season's still happening, and that's why you haven't had a name. You end up getting named as your season is progressing in the tournament. Is that difficult when you're trying to get your guys ready and that's happening at the same time you're being announced as moving on to another school? What was that kind of how was that emotionally and sort of tough to deal with your team?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. One thing I did before it got out on Twitter, I gathered my team in the locker room. In the hotel lobby. I told them, like I said, look, here's the situation. I'd rather you hear from me before you hear from Twitter. And to their credit, they gave me a round of applause and all stood up and hugged me, and it was some tears in there. But they were so happy for me. But I also made sure, I said, guys, this isn't about me. This is about you guys. I'm not scoring a bucket. Tonight, I'm not getting a rebound. I'm still going to coach you the same way, but I need you guys to stay focused. And they did. And, all the way up to the fourth game, to go to the championship game, I was so proud of them. So they handled it great.
Well, and the ending of one of those games, kind of around the time that all this was being announced, you had a kid go for 48 points, including kind of an amazing shot at the end of the game. Kind of walk us through that last little possession there and how you ended up winning that game.
Yeah, no, it was obviously, I'm a defensive guy, but it was obviously a game of offense. With some games are like that, and he was just in a zone. I just had to make sure, we drew up a play out of the timeout, and at the end of the day, I just had to make sure that the ball was in his hands no matter what. And I think I have some good X and O's, but I'm also, to the understanding that you got to have the Jimmies and Joes to win a lot of games. And the ball was in his hands, and he figured out a way to get it up. And I'll be honest with you, I've been coaching and playing for a long time. I've never been a part of something like that in my life.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you were down 3, he hits the 3, he gets fouled and hits the free throw for the 4-point play, correct?
Yes, with 2 seconds to go in the game.
To win it.
Yeah, to win it. So it was, and it was in overtime. It even better. So it was unbelievable. He's a heck of a player. He's from Toronto. I mean, like, there's a good chance that he's coming here, but his recruitment skyrocketed.
Right.
You know, like Texas called me about him. I'm like, Texas? I said, yeah. I was like, wait a minute. You know, but he's a heck of a player. So, you know, like, you know, him and I have a great relationship.
Did you mention to him, hey, by the way, Texas doesn't have their coach yet? You know, I'm assuming at the time when they called you, you know, Rodney still had the interim tag on him. Look, speaking of, you mentioned Jimmy's and Joe's, and you inherit a program that a lot of guys left to go with, Corey, to Austin P. Hansel Emmanuel, who obviously we all know, one arm, amazing story, kid who got more and more playing time and became a starter by the end of the season. You come in with a roster that is pretty thin thanks to the transfer portal. Tell me about kind of what you know about the Northwestern roster and then how you go about trying to build it back up.
Yeah, no, this is I mean, like the lay of the land of college recruiting. You know, like you're going to lose, you know, in situations like this, you're going to lose 6, 7 guys. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, this is, you know, pretty easy for me. You know, there's enough players out there. It's just the vetting process of getting the right kid that fits your system, that's going to represent you well, and at the end of the day, that's talented and tough. You know, it's something that my staff and I, you know, are looking at, you know, at the moment. You know, there's a lot of guys. I mean, I'll be honest with you, we're going to have to turn down some good players because we got a lot of good players on deck.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I mean, it's part of it. You know, it's unfortunate sometimes, you know, like you wish you know, would have at least, you know, 5, 6 guys, you know, that really like the university and say, you know what, I'm going to stay here and, you know, and that, you know, I'm going to get my degree, you know, from Northwestern State University. But, you know, like we have to, you know, adapt to the times of recruiting and the kids and, you know, and that's what we're going to do.
And that's when I would think, Coach, being a junior college coach, that background comes in very handy because you're used to turning over your team every couple of years.
You know, absolutely. We my first year, you know, we had you know, a ton of sophomores and, you know, like a few freshmen that you know, left at the end of the season. So coming into this year, I had one guy returning, and you know, my staff did a heck of a job of recruiting some high level guys to come you know, to come play, and we were a shot away from going to the, you know, championship game. So, you know, it can be done. It's not going to be easy, you know, but it can be done. And you know, like I'm confident in my ability to you know, to recruit and to relate to these young men that they will, you know, have strong interest in coming to Northwestern State.
Talking to Rick Cabrera, the new head coach of Northwestern State University. Speaking of, you mentioned your style a little bit being kind of defensive. Tell us what we will expect to see on the floor when you get your team out there in Prather Coliseum.
Well, you know, one thing you're going to see is, you know, I'm a defensive guy, right? You know, we're going to guard, we're going to defend, rebound, and create turnovers. But I'm also, as a player, I was an offensive guy. So, you know, I completely understand you got to take that orange round ball and put it in that orange rim. You know, so we're going to play fast. So, you know, we're going to have some control in that. You know, I tell my guys on the defensive end, you play in fear. If you get stops and rebounds, I'll give you freedom offensively. If the ball is constantly going through the net for the other team and we're taking it out, then I'm going to call a play every time. So I think they're going to want to defend and you know, and rebound it.
Right.
And you have some freedom offensively, you know.
By the way, I was just curious, are you going to the Final Four in Houston?
Yes. I'm after the press conference, I'm going to head down there and I'll be there for Sunday, and I'm going to come back to Tallahassee for a day and pack up the rest of my stuff, and then I'll be out in, you know, in Natchitoches for the remainder of my time.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, so give me some indication. Do you know at this point what your staff's going to look like? Are you? I mean, I'm not asking you for specifics necessarily. I know you'll kind of get to that when you get to that. But do you feel like you know what your staff looks like? Are you still maybe looking for someone to kind of come in? What are you looking at staff wise?
No, yes. I have a you know, a strong idea. I'm going to bring one of my assistants, you know, as the third assistant. He's, you know, really good and at identifying players, you know, and relating to players.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like he probably recruited over 80% of our roster in 2 years. And then I'm going to hire a young man I've known. I can't tell you his name right now,
That's
but he's
fine.
out of Texas. He's out of Texas. He's very, very well connected, and like he's blowing up my phone as we're walking into the airport with 6-7 recruits per day. So he gets after it. And then like I'm going to hire another guy who has about 10, 12 years of head coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be able to come. Because as a head coach, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to still recruit like I'm an assistant coach. So if there's a time I have to leave practice, I got to have a guy that's going to run my practice, with the same vision that I have. So,
right.
We're going to have a strong staff, a hungry staff, and guys that are approachable and great in the community. So I'm excited. I'm on cloud 9 right now.
Well, the good news is you have a hungry play-by-play guy too. I'm always hungry. I eat a lot, and I don't mean like hungry for the next win or what. I'm talking about just hungry for lunch. Most of the time.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, and I actually am curious. What do you know about Natchitoches?
From some people that I know that have worked there,
mm-hmm.
and that like has been there. Said it's a small town, really nice small town.
Yep.
They take Christmas really serious.
Oh yes.
There.
Oh yes.
And it's a close knit town, and everyone has told me on a great note that I would like it. I've lived in small towns before. I'm a city boy. I'm from New York City, but I've lived in a lot of small towns, so that's my speed right now. So I think I will adapt really well.
Yeah, and if I may just make a suggestion to you, Coach. So the delicacy that comes from Natchitoches is the Natchitoches meat pie. It's basically just a beef-filled empanada. It's not like it's some sort of revolutionary thing, but Natchitoches lays claim to them. There's a restaurant called Lazione's, been there forever and ever and ever. When you get there, make sure you get a meat pie. Just to let you know, that'll be the initial starting point. That's your jumping off point for Natchitoches cuisine.
No, listen. When I told my wife that we were involved in a job, she, like every person, they're going to go to the internet and she pointed to that. She said, "I want to eat here," and it was the exact place that you said.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Lazione's. No, it's fantastic. We're in Tallahassee, and by the way, I have a buddy who's a Tallahassee native. And I asked him kind of what's a good Natchitoches comp for the Tallahassee area, and he said Natchitoches is like a classy Crawfordville. I don't know what any of that means. I think I've been to Tallahassee once, but he said Natchitoches is like a classy Crawfordville if you need a Tallahassee area comparison.
No, listen, he's not off base with that. He's actually right. Yes, because Crawfordville is just a small town on the outskirts of Tallahassee. So yes, he is right.
Yeah. Well,
that's actually pretty good to hear.
My guy knows some stuff, that's for sure. And you're right. Christmas is a big deal. It's a thing called Christmas Festival. It goes on for about a month, starting in mid-November and lasts all the way through January. And they put over 1 million lights down on the riverbank on Front Street. It is a scene. Your kids will love it. They do fireworks every Saturday. It's a big deal, no doubt about that. We're talking to Rick Cabrera, new head coach of Northwestern State. All right, so what are your first priorities when you get in to Natchitoches? You finally get kind of settled in. What are the first couple of things you want to get done?
Recruiting, number one. Number two, recruiting, and then number three, obviously getting to know everyone and getting to know people in the community. I think that's very important to serve the community. But at this moment, recruiting is point number one.
Yeah.
But I can do both. I can recruit and I can get to know people. So there's not going to be a lot of sitting down for me. I'm going to be out and about, moving around. But I'm also going to always be available for anybody that needs me or wants to talk.
Is that one of the tough things about the itinerant version of coaching, where you've been at multiple Division I universities as an assistant, you've been at a couple of different stops in junior college as a head coach? Is that kind of the tough thing, is coming into a new community that you're not really aware of, cold, and trying to start making those inroads?
Well, I mean, it can be tough for people who are not, socially gifted.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem talking to anyone. I like to talk. I like to engage with people. Like I always tell people, I say, if you don't get along with me, there's a problem with you.
I love it.
So I'm eager to meet anybody and to have fun. I don't avoid like interacting and initiating conversation. So that won't be a problem, for me, but it is for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. The new coach will be introduced tomorrow at 2:00. Again, if you want to go down there, or if you're in the Natchitoches area already and want to attend, it'll be at the Student Union Ballroom. Go check it out. You won't be able to miss it. Right there in the middle of campus. Coach, looking forward to it. Looking forward to having a good working relationship with you. Looking forward to meet you. I'm going to try to get down there tomorrow, but I gotta get mad at Jason Pugh, our SID. He made your press conference at 2:00, which is not convenient for my show. He should have been thinking more of me when he was setting up your introductory press conference. But I'll take that up with Pugh at a later date. But looking forward to meeting you, getting to work with you, Coach. And look, really, congratulations on this gig, and looking forward to it.
Same here. Thank you so much, and I appreciate this. And let's go have a meat pie at some point. During my stay.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. You do not have to work hard to get me to have a meal. I will also tell you that if you need, since you'll have a largely new staff in place, if you need road recommendations for food, I'm also the guy that you want to turn to. Typically, I will say, though, the diet that you'll want your team to be eating is not the same diet that I typically eat. So I'm just, I know coaches love some sandwiches. They love some salads. They love, stuff like that. Let's go get a huge thing of etouffee. Let's go get a big thing of jambalaya. Let's go find a good barbecue restaurant. I'm not exactly the right guy calorically for what your team is doing, but I can steer you in the right direction.
Now, could I ask you a question?
Sure, of course.
Right. Now, do they have non-seafood jambalaya?
Sure. Yeah, you can do chicken and sausage, which is a gumbo, not necessarily a jambalaya. Most jambalayas don't have
gumbo.
chicken and sausage. Yeah. As a matter of fact, at Lazione's, they have what they call the big bowl of gumbo, which is just a massive bowl of chicken and sausage gumbo. It is delicious. You can get that. Okay. There's also the version that's seafood with shrimp and oysters and crabs sometimes, all of that. But yeah, go to Lazione's, get you a meat pie just to try it, and then get you that big bowl of chicken and sausage gumbo. That's what I always eat at Lazione's. It's not to turn this into a Lazione's infomercial or anything. And there are a lot of places in town. And I will tell you this, Coach. This is one thing I tell all the coaches. I told Corey last year when we had him on. There will come a time when you're somewhere in Louisiana and you'll be at a tailgate for football maybe. That's usually where it happens. And someone's going to hand you a bowl of something. What I will tell you is do not ask what's in it. Just eat it.
Well, I have to because I'm allergic to shellfish.
Well, okay, just make sure that there's no shellfish in there. But all I'm saying is there might be nutria in there. There could be some possum in there. Like, I don't know. There's no telling, but it's always going to be delicious. That's the thing.
I got you. Okay. I will definitely take that advice. I appreciate that.
Now, I will say, if you are allergic to shellfish, you need to be careful because most things in Louisiana have some sort of seafood around them or a stock or something. Crawfish, obviously, is a huge delicacy in Louisiana. So just be careful. Make sure you're telling folks that before you go and eat something.
Yeah. I definitely will. You guys don't want to get a phone call that I'm in a hospital and with a swollen face.
No, I'd rather not stab you in the leg with an EpiPen at some point, Coach, is all I'm saying.
I keep it with me, so hopefully that'll save me.
Well, let's hope so, because we definitely don't need any of that. Coach, congrats.
No doubt.
Looking forward to finally meeting you and having some fun this year, brother. Thank you for taking some time with us.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Rick Cabrera, new head coach of the Northwestern State Demons.